Okay, Overwatch showing. For a second I was weirded out because the game wasn't showing, but yeah, I didn't change anything in OBS for it not to show. Let's see. I don't know what custom game I want for this. I guess I could just do the guide in a name arena and just lower the volume of the game.
Together we are strong.
Sound, master volume. We could just do this and play name arena. I think that could be interesting. Be able to show deflect, like my deflect usage. Bitrate, please behave. Also, I need my intro, so let me go set that up. Create this. Deflect is arguably the hardest cooldown to get in Overwatch. To get Deflect is arguably the hardest cooldown in Overwatch to get. To squeeze every bit of value from that's why I will teach you how to do so right now. In this video, I think that's an okay intro. Yeah, what up, Slushy? How are you doing? Deflect is arguably the hardest code on Overwatch to squeeze every bit of value from, so that's why I will teach you how to do so in this video. I think that's an okay intro. So yeah, I was thinking about going into a name arena to showcase the deflect usage, but I think I should talk about deflect first. I don't know where to start though. Deflect is actually such a big topic. The thing is, dash is a big topic, but you kind of know where to go from to start. Deflect, there are just so many things. I feel like to close it up, which is gonna take like 10 to 20 minutes alone, is gonna be simply like me discussing every matchup, basically, because Genji, to get the most out of deflect, right? You don't have Genji's projectile, right? You need to be used to every single projectile in the game. And by the way, hit scan weapons are also projectiles, they're just projectiles that travel instantly. So me saying projectile is fine. But for Genji to get the most out of deflect, he has to actually know how every weapon in the game works to be able to actually deflect those things accurately. So we're probably talking about a bunch of different matchups. Zarya right click is a weird one, but I think it's also important for you to get good at that, because those can deal up to what, 100 damage? I'm actually quickly check that. Let me get the Junkrat here. Where is Junkrat? I forgot that I made the volume of the game very low. Oh yeah, and I have lower cooldowns, perfect. How much damage is that? Wait, I need a direct hit. And I need to actually reset this bot before... Okay, there we go. 100 energy! Yeah, it's just a little bit under. Recording this or just preparing? I'm thinking right now about how I'm gonna organize this because it's AoE, so it would be a surprise that how often you can actually deflect and like predict when she wants to do it and actually turn the tables on her because of that deflect. Or just simply deflect it for spam. I remember getting like 10% toe charge sometimes by deflecting Zara right click that she threw from very far away, and then I lobbed it back to her team, right? But yeah, like, I think that the first thing I should talk about is the fact that Deflect is just a cooldown that is basically a jail out of free card, to a certain extent at least. It's not like Dash, but it can be used like that. Okay, I think I'm ready to record this. Let me just start. Okay, so first things up, Deflect, I think it is a worse cooldown than Dash, simply because it is less flexible. And for example, you can use Deflect to get out to safety. So for example, I'm in a bad matchup, I deflect back, and then boom, I'm safe. But Dash is the most flexible cooldown you have for that. Dash allows you to instantly cover that gap and get back to safety. Deflect not only will not deflect every single damage source in the game, it is also slower in rotation because you have to walk instead of use a mobility cooldown to get there, right? So Deflect is also a very powerful cooldown, but it isn't the strongest cooldown that there is. Also, I actually forgot to do the intro now that I recorded, so let me quickly just say the intro. Deflect is arguably the hardest cooldown in Overwatch to squeeze every bit of value from, so that's why I'll be teaching you how to do so in this video. There we go, that's the intro. Intro done. So, 1x1 projectile hit scan, yeah. I'm gonna be doing that later. I'm gonna be asking a friend to join me so I can show specific matchups. Specific, like, one thing that's very cool, for example, against Cassidy, I mean, against everything in general, but Cassidy is a good example. If you're here in a Cassidy and he looks down, he will not deflect if you're just looking straight at him, as far as I'm aware. At least there's a distance. If you're like completely hugged on him, then you might get the deflect. But there's a distance where you can't deflect if you look straight, but if you look at a 45-degree angle, basically the same idea with Reinhardt's hammer, that you deflect and you're actually gonna get the deflect on that flashbang that you previously couldn't. Because the deflect works basically the same way as Reinhammer does. Let me quickly show this. Reinhammer, right? Reinhammer has a hitbox when it travels, obviously, but that hitbox can be manipulated by where you look at your camera. That's why you see a lot of Reins swing their camera wildly when they're swinging. That's not because they are doing it for no reason. Like, look at this. I cannot hit this bot right now. Right, I still can't hit it. Okay, this should be enough. You see how I can hit this bot now? Now that I'm swinging, I'm not swinging my hammer. And now that I'm swinging around, I can hit him. That's because Hammer's hitbox is, you can think of it as a rectangle that's traveling with the hammer. So it's a rectangle that goes to one side and then on the other swing it goes back, right? So if you just look straight, right, the rectangle is gonna have a big hitbox, but laterally. It won't have that much reach. The reach is gonna be on the how big Rein's arm is. Now you can extend that range by shifting your aim to the side, because that means that you're not only gonna be having the distance of your arm with Reinhardt, you're also gonna be using a little bit of the lateral distance of that rectangle to actually reach further, right? Because instead of it just being a massive cone of the area of damage in front of you that you're gonna be dealing, you're gonna be shifting that to the side, so you're gonna be hitting a less of an area, at least in front of you. That area is gonna be to the side if you shift it to the side, but you're gonna be reaching a little bit further up. And that's why when you do this, you can actually reach further. That same principle applies to Deflect because the hitbox is basically the same thing. It's a square, or rather a rectangle that is, instead of like this, it's like this, right? It's tilted upwards. So when you deflect, if you just look straight, it will have the base hitbox. But if you look upwards or downwards a little bit, you're extending the tip a little bit further because it's not only the distance of the arms, you're also using the hitbox of the area, right? That rectangle. So instead of it being like this, you're shifting it forward. So let me quickly show. You see the difference? This touches further, right? And that's gonna be very useful in matchups like Cassidy when you want to engage him. You look upwards or downwards so that you get a higher chance of actually deflecting the flashbang. And I'm gonna show that in action later. But yeah, I shouldn't have gone to understand it right now, but whatever. So Deflect can be used as a DLR of free card, obviously, because it prevents most damage from him, yeah, and it still allows you to move, so you can rotate back to safety. The only problem with that is it is very limited in how much ground you can cover, right? With dash you can cover a bigger distance faster and in a more safe manner. But Deflect is very good for other reasons, and it is still good to use as a safety measure if you don't want to burn your dash and if you don't need to burn your dash, right? Ideally, the first cooldown you burn if you need to get out and live a situation is Deflect, if you have the luxury to do it, because like I said before, Deflect is the least flexible cooldown. Dash being mobility and being big mobility, as well as damage, and can be used as an engagement tool and whatever, it is the more flexible cooldown, so you ideally want to burn Deflect first if you can in a situation like that. So now what was I thinking? Oh yeah, deflecting damage back. There are many reasons why you should use Deflect. One of the main ones that you're gonna be seeing when your team is starting to push in is to simply deflect up to turn spam that the enemy team is throwing at you back at the enemy team, right? Because that helps you with the shield trade. So let's say you have a Reinhardt walking up. You have a Reinhardt walking up against double shield. The Reinhardt needs to get close to get value, right? And the double shield is gonna be spamming him from far away. And then his shield is gonna break fast. So you walking upwards and deflecting on the enemy's face to turn that spam back at them is a big shield trade win for you, because that alleviates the pressure on your tanks and that turns that pressure back on the enemy team. As well as, since Genji is not the best spammer because of his weapon, right? He's not the worst, but he's not the best. Deflect also allows him to steal, essentially, the other player's weapons, and multiple at a time. So you could be deflecting the Orisa spam back, as well as the Sigma spam, as well as the DPS spam, right? So you could be deflecting a lot of spam back at the enemy team. But the problem with that is that you likely won't be able to engage right away, which is not a big problem if you're using it for those reasons. Like, the Reinhardt needs to get close, so you're helping him get closer. He won't really try to engage without a full shield, otherwise he'll just get melted. So during the time that he is recharging his shield, you're gonna be recharging your deflect cooldown. And when both the shield and the deflect cooldown are up, then your team pushes. Because ideally you engage with both of your cooldowns, not just one of them. There are situations where you just engage with one of them, but that's mostly on the enemy giving you an opportunity, right? Showing a vulnerability. Someone is out of position, someone is low, something like that. So if you want to be deflecting the spam, that's usually a play that you're gonna be doing if you're not gonna engage, or you don't there is no prospect of you or your team engaging in the next 8 seconds, because you're gonna be most likely wanting to have that cooldown up. So helping your team rotate is good, but if your team is already close, doing that deflect play might not be the best and you might want to save it for better reasons, such as giving you a better shot at the duo, which we're gonna be talking about again later. But quickly again on the spam talk, if your Reinhardt is walking up, you can obviously walk in front of him, deflect, and then turn that spam back, but that's likely not gonna do much other than helping you with the shield trade and helping your team have more resources while they rotate, so it's less likely that your team is gonna get picked off, right? But if you can, you would like to make it more effective, right? Have a bigger chance of actually getting a pick from it. And that's where a sneaky engagement comes from. So let's say your team is actually walking main and the double shield is playing here like I showed before. Well, in this case, you don't necessarily need to go main at first. You can rotate, look for an alpha angle, and when the enemy team is unaware and they are spamming a bunch, you drop on their face and then you deflect. Then you have bypassed their shield, so you won't be throwing the spam at their shield. It will also be with a surprise factor, so they're gonna likely throw more damage at you than if you just walked up in front of your Reinhardt and deflected, right? So because you're dropping and they're expecting to shoot a Rein and then there's a genji deflecting on their face, that is less of a... It's a surprise factor, plus there's less of a reaction to that play. So you're gonna be getting much more out of that deflect spam, and you're likely gonna be able to actually get a kill from that. That's one of the main things that you're gonna be wanting to do against, for example, a Baptiste window. That's not gonna be a thing in Overwatch 2 anymore, it's only gonna do 180 damage, because Rein's Fire Strike got nerfed to 90 damage in Overwatch 2, but it's still a lot of damage, right? If the Baptiste windows and the Rein Fire Strikes, that's a play you want to deflect. And you can deflect it from main and just keep your team safe, but the most ideal thing you do is do a sneaky engagement. Let's say the Baptiste windows here, and you are close to the enemy team, and they window, then you drop, and then you surprise them. They have less of a time to react to your projectile, they have less of a time to react to you, so they won't be able to like throw the fire strike at a wall or the ground not to shoot at you. So it's just much more effective as a play to just do those surprise drop deflects. And that it becomes especially true against, for example, a Bastion. A Bastion is considered like a throw into Genji in lower ranks. But Bastion, as long as he is played smart, he is actually pretty decent into Genji because of his passive, his health pool. Like, he has a lot of tools to survive a Genji solo, and if he tries to dive and doesn't get the kill, then the Genji is likely feeding, right? The Bastion can actually even self-heal Blade, if a dry Blade, if he is in turret form, and healing. That's how crazy his damage reduction plus the healing is. So what a lot of lower ranks are gonna be doing is dash engaging the Bastion that is in turret form and deflecting their face. And that can work, and that is especially good if your team is going in with you. So you're immediately removing that pressure. Again, same idea with the spam. You're removing that pressure from your team and turning it back on the enemy. But this time, since it's a way faster, right? Bastion is the highest DPS in the game, as long as he's properly set up. Then that's gonna be, the enemy is gonna have less of a time to react, to avoid just killing themselves, right? And sure, you can do that play, but you just have to be careful with two things. One, the dash angle, because remember, if you're locked in the dash and you dash straight at a Bastion that is shooting at you, he's gonna mow you down before you complete your dash animation. So you're not even gonna get to deflect. So if you wanna do that play, you probably need to come out from the side so you don't get destroyed during your dash. And second, you shouldn't expect to always kill the Bastion like this. Like, in reality, only Bastions in really low ranks are gonna be doing that. And even then, I doubt that every Bastion player in low ranks are actually gonna fully remove their health bars from that deflect. So doing that play is good if your team is engaging with you, but it is very hard to do and actually get effectiveness from that play if you're solo. Unless you are in a position where, let's say here, I dash in, go look for the play, didn't get the kill on the Bastion. I'm instantly out and the enemy team can't catch me because they don't have mobility. That's a case where it's fine because you're not hard committed to the play. It's either you get the reward from it or you just chill because the enemy team can't punish you for that play, which is okay. Right? But yeah, you shouldn't be expecting to get too much out of deflect spam unless you were deflecting like crucial cooldowns, and that's the difference. So again, like I said before, the Rhine strike, the fire strike from the Rhine through the window, right? That's gonna one-shot your squishies. But outside of window, the Reinhardt is gonna be using it to be able to farm his ultimate outside of his melee range, because that's the only thing that he can do at range other than shield. So only damage source he can do at range. So you're gonna be wanting sometimes to use your deflect to reflect specific cooldowns for many reasons. The first one obviously is damage. So Fire Strike can deal massive AoE damage if the enemy team is stacked up, so deflecting that is good for your ult charge, it's good for pressure, it takes pressure away from your team like we talked about before. But most importantly, and that's something that people don't consider too much, it removes ult charge from that player and gives it to the Genji. So if your Reinhardt, let's say your team is running Reinhardt Genji, and the enemy team is running Reinhardt, not Genji. The team that has a Genji is gonna have more shatters than the team without a Genji, most likely. Simply because if the Genji simply plays a lot with his front line to deflect those fire strikes, he is giving his Rhine, like his Rhine is hitting those fire strikes, farming his ultimates outside of melee fights. But the enemy Rhine isn't getting to do that because you're deflecting his fire strikes, so he essentially doesn't get poking. He needs the engagement to farm the ult charge. So you can deprive that Rhine player from that ult charge, which is a really good play and is one of the biggest reasons why I look to deflect fire strikes in the first place. Not just for the spam. It's more the best part of it is winning this Rhine versus Rhine matchup. So my Rhine gets more shatters, so that means that the enemy Rhine has to pay more attention to be able to block those shatters, and therefore probably plays more passive, which gives our team more space and aggression, right? You can do that with other heroes as well. Moira Orb that can be used for spam to remove some of that ult charge, although it isn't in the same level as Rhine as far as depriving her ult charge goes, because she can farm it from the heal, she can farm it from the damage at range, etc. But outside of these spam scenarios and key cooldown scenarios, inside the spam, let's talk about the moments that you want to deflect in fights before we go to specific matchups, right? So, my brain just farted. What was I thinking about? Let me quickly answer chat. This was 10 minutes ago. I really tried to finish my thought process before going to answer the question or whatever. And I ended up going on a big tangent. Don't hit the squishy combo, then I die. Yeah, that's probably because you're simply engaging into deep into the enemy team. So, as much as Deflect can try to bail you out of a situation where you try to go for an aggressive play, like this, which can be fine in some situations, if you fuck up like I did here, and basically did no damage, if you cannot get out alive, you're throwing. Like, you probably just lost your team an entire fight. So, if you can go for a play like this, and if you fuck up, you can deflect out to safety, that's okay. There are arguably better things for you to do, such as looking for an off angle and whatever, to be able to get a better engagement that is less committed, less of a, oh, either I hit the skill shot or I'm basically like, I lose all my downtime or I even die. But that's a topic for another time, right? So I was thinking about after the spam, like, in the fight. So, let's ignore the spam, let's say you actually got into the fight, right? There are some things that you can do. During the actual engagement, deflecting spam and the spam, I don't mean the poke anymore. So let me just say spam poke, right? So during the poke phase, deflecting the spam is gonna be helping you in the shield trade. During the actual fight, deflecting the spam, that spam isn't just to pressure your team out and farm ult shard and slow the enemy team down. That spam is to actually get someone to below HP and be finished off, right? So deflecting that is gonna have a better purpose because it is gonna be contributing to actually getting the eliminations. Before you're just trying to rotate, so you're not likely to get kills. But during the actual engagement, deflecting a bunch of spam is gonna be very helpful with the tempo of the fight for your team, right? Taking the pressure off your team, just like I said with the spam before on the poking phase, but this time it has a better reason because it's gonna be actually contributing to the eliminations, right? But you do have to weigh what you want to deflect the most. That's the thing. When you are getting to an actual fight, obviously deflecting anything can be really good to turn stuff that would go into your team to the enemy team, but you have to consider what are the things that are most important for you to deflect. Not just, oh, I'm gonna deflect the general damage that is coming to our team, right? So if the enemy team has an Ana, you probably don't want to let that Ana get a free nade on your team. So if you can, you pay attention to that Ana. Let's quickly stop this on Ana. While your team is trying to engage, you pay attention to the Ana and you look maybe to deflect the nade, because you know that if your team gets naded, your team is likely gonna lose the fight because nade is a very powerful cooldown, right? In the same sense, if the enemy team has grav and you have deflect, you can look to deflect the grav instead of deflecting the spam, because if your team gets grabbed, your team is likely going to lose the fight, right? So you have to be able to assess in each situation what it is that you want to actually deflect. What is the highest value deflect? Can you afford to simply use it to help your team avoid spam and turn it back into the enemy? Do you need to deflect a crucial cooldown? Or, and I haven't even talked about this, but a fight doesn't have to be your whole team as a mess. Like everyone is playing close, like Deathmatch Comp, Ryan Zarya, Lucio Moore, stuff like that, and they're just brawling with another team that's just like another death ball, right? Fights aren't often gonna be just two blobs of players. They're just everyone grouped together, right? Often it is going to be messy. So there's a player here, right? There's some players here. There's a player in the high ground. Your supports are maybe further back because they're at range, such as an Ana, and your front line is pushing up while your flankers are flanking, and maybe you're a hit scanner or a projectile, such as, for example, a Hanzo or even a Genji, are looking for an off angle instead of just a hard flank to be able to bypass enemy defenses. Fights aren't going to always be able to, okay, I go main, I look to deflect spam, or I look for crucial cooldown. Sometimes you're gonna have to look for these specific, you're gonna be needing to save that deflect to give you an edge on a duel. So, obviously, against an Ana, Genji can just destroy her if he plays it well. But Ana's hitbox, especially when she is doing proper movements, right, and making herself very hard to hit, she's gonna be very hard for Genji to kill. At least in a decent amount of time, before she actually gets peeled from her team, right? So if you look for a duel with an Ana, with the enemy Ana, when your team is engaged in their team, you are looking to deflect sleep or nade, right? Possibly sleep first, because although nade is dangerous, it's not going to outright kill you. Sleep is, because the enemy team is going to be able to actually help the Ana to get the elimination, so you probably want to save the deflect for the sleep. But if you want more Ana tips, I made a quick 1-minute video about how to play Genji versus Ana, so you can check that out. And also the nade, although deflecting the nade is cool, it is not as reliable as deflecting a slip dart that has an actual cast time. She has to pull it up and then shoot. The nade is just instant. It is a projectile, but it is instant in the sense that it has no cast time. She just picks it up and lobs it. So, since nade most likely is going to not get deflected, she effectively has 300 HP. And 300 HP is not a number that Genji loves to see when he looks for a duel. He likely wants to finish someone off that has 200 HP or less. He can go ahead and win a duel versus the Ana, but if she does have 300 HP, you have to think about like how isolated that Ana is. is she gonna get peeled in 2-3 seconds? Because if she is, then you're likely not gonna be able to get the kill unless you hit her with a 1-2. Like you 1-2, she's dead, right? Unless you absolutely destroy her, you're not getting the kill. If she can nade herself and she gets peeled in 2 seconds. But in a time that is bigger than that, then you can take a slower duel with the Ana. You just start poking her out, she nades herself, you deflect the slip. Sure, she can deal some damage with the nade and the poke, but in general, you're kind of favored in this matchup. Although, sure, 3 damage instances from the Ana will kill you, so 3 shots or 2 shots and the nade. You also have a lot of tools to make yourself hard to hit, such as dash and your mobility. So it can be very tough for the Ana to actually land all of that damage if you are not hard committed. Which, hard committing into an Ana can be very dangerous because of her cooldowns and her sustain. But again, that's we already kind of covered that on the Ana tips. And hard engaging is not something you really do unless you're really forced to do it. Like your team you cannot look for flanks and your team isn't helping you, so you need to force them duels, or you see an opportunity that you have to capitalize on. Right? But enough of that. What up, Nautilus? How are you doing? What was I thinking? Let me drink some water real quick. What was I thinking? It's actually, even though it should be very cold, I'm actually just almost sweating here. Probably because of the light, I forgot about that. This light generates a lot of heat, but yeah. Anyways, I was thinking about the deflecting for duels, right? So, when you find yourself wanting to duel in the middle of a fight instead of just play with your team, right? And play with your team, I mean just playing literally by them, not because if you are looking for a duel in the fight, you are still kind of playing with your team. It's just not directly with them, but you are contributing to the fight, you are contributing to what your team is doing at this point. So you are kind of with your team, and you are also not that far away from your team, unless you're in a duel that's far away, and that's probably just you probably just found an opportunity and you're trying to capitalize on that. But yeah, that's just a dumb discussion. College stuff. The semester is almost over, right? Should be almost over. Think I have to in 2 days I have to sign up for the next semester or whatnot. Semester, I don't know. I don't know if that's what you call it in English, but yeah, whatever. Let me continue with the this. A deal like that. So when you're looking for a duel, obviously having every tool at your disposal is best. So if you engage the Ana without a deflect, unless you do something like this, right? You're likely screwed. Oh yeah, I'm missing my shot, and then she nades herself, and then she hits some shots on me. And then you're dead. You're just dead at that point. That point you're hoping that the Ana plays badly and you play well. You're not having the most agency over the situation, which is something that you should try to always have. If you can have the most agency over a situation, you should have. So if that means flanking to look for a better angle to be able to actually get a good engagement off instead of just forcing an engagement with dash, then do it, but with an engagement like this, I have more agency on whether or not I kill the Ana than I do if I just am without my deflect and just dash engage her from main, and if I don't kill her, I'm dead, right? So in duels, you want to have every tool at your disposal if possible. All of your health, all of your cooldowns, and maybe even coming from an angle so you have the advantage in that sense. Like, the enemy team has to react to your play, you have some entry damage on them, yada yada yada. But In each duel, you're gonna have to be looking for a different thing on Deflect. So, for example, against snipers, Widow, Hanzo, you're looking to deflect a shot, if possible, or baiting out a shot and then engaging them. Unless they have their mobility cooldown up, as then you probably need to actually get close to them before using your dash to engage. Otherwise, they're just gonna be able to get away from you, right? But against them, the play that you have to be careful about, that the game anchor you, is the one shot. It is a high output, low fire rate weapon. So the Widow shot, the Hanzo arrow that deal 120 plus damage. Against, for example, a Cassidy, you're trying to probably deflect the stun, or depending on the range, if you're more mid-range, trying to poke him out a little bit. Then you're looking to deflect one of his shots, predicting his fire rates to be able to actually deflect a headshot onto him. Because if you deflect a headshot onto him, that is a lot of damage. That is 140 damage burst that you can simply go boom. I'm gonna shoot the shurikens just to simulate around the 140 damage, right? And then boom, you instantly after that deflect that I'm simulating with this body shot and double headshot. Instantly after that, you dash engage and quickly finish him off, right? That's another thing that you can do with Deflect. Deflect can open you up to opportunities that poking alone won't always do, because Genji's poke at mid-range to long range isn't the most reliable weapon in the world. It's probably one of the worst weapons in Overwatch as far as consistently getting damage onto squishies, right? So it really depends on what matchup you have. So Cassidy, you're probably trying to deflect the flashbang, otherwise you're deflecting his damage because he also has a high damage output weapon, even though he isn't a sniper, right? Against Soldier, it's probably gonna be his Helix rocket if you cannot bait it out beforehand, right? But against Soldier, you need to be careful about the healing station, and so you might want to soft reset and force it out and then engage again, but that's a topic for Soldier specifically, like the Genji vs Soldier matchup, which are not gonna go in depth here. So I have to be considering each matchup for Genji. What do you want to deflect? So for Junkrat, high damage output weapon, for example. Also the mines are the same thing, and you can combo them for a quick burst, right? So you have to think about what weapon does the enemy have, what tools do they have, what do I need to deflect? And in some cases you don't really deflect damage. In Brigitte's case, you can deflect her flail. You cannot deflect her stun, but you can also deflect the whip shot. Genji can deflect any melee source of damage. It will not put the damage back at the enemy, it will simply parry it. So Ryan Hammer swing, you're not gonna take the damage, you're still gonna get pooped from it, but you're not taking the damage, which is good if you're trying to play aggressive on him. So you can do something like this. I'm gonna quickly show. You're close to the Reinhardt, you're forcing... Why are you fire striking? You're close to Reinhardt, pressuring him out. Can you please stop? And then you do something like this. And you deflect, like you shoot, you deflect a swing. This bot is just gonna be doing that. But you shoot, you deflect a swing, and then you shoot again. Because this means that you didn't take the damage from swing, and then you got the 2 shots off on your normal cadence of fire. You can do the same thing with Primal. Primal is melee, right? So you can deflect, or rather parry that. Brig flail is the same thing. You can deflect both the whip shot and the actual flail, and that is very important against Brig if she doesn't have Inspire up. So you see the little wounds, like these little waves that are created every time I swing someone? This is the Inspire healing. So if she has that out, so if you can deflect the whip shot, I'm actually tired of these hammer downs. So if you can deflect the whip shot so that you can keep poking at range and then slowly wearing her down until you can actually go ahead for a finish, then that's gonna be good. But if she does get the flail off, then she's gonna be able to heal your poke, and since you're playing at mid range, to avoid Briggs most powerful cooldown, which is the stun, at least the most dangerous cooldown for you, then oh my god, my train of thought. Right? Then if you cannot deflect the Flail, you're not likely to be able to poke her out, but if you can deflect the Flail, then you have the Flail, you have a decent chance at actually poking her from a distance, because she cannot heal it. She will need someone else to heal, or she will just have to go to cover or use her shield. At that point, your poke is actually being quite effective, right? But it's not. But remember that you can deflect while at close range to the Brig. The only problem is gonna be the stun. But then, let's say you break the shield. If you break the shield, she cannot shield bash you because she doesn't have a shield. And you also have to remember that shield bash is not gonna stun you above. It doesn't matter if you look up, the shield bash is gonna go forward. So if you, as the Genji, play on a distance that she cannot shield bash you, or you play above her so she cannot shield bash you, she can still proc Inspire, but she cannot stun you out of the deflect. So as long as you actually play it properly to avoid that flail damage, to prevent her from getting the Inspire, then you have a good shot at the duel, right? And she does have really good range with her flail. Their flail isn't limited to ground level. Just like Reinhardt, if she looks up, she's gonna damage up. So sure, playing Nyep grants you sort of immunity against shield bash, but she can still hit you with both whip shot and her melee attacks. So you have to be ready to deflect, right? So yeah, we have talked about using dash when you're going in for your team is rotating. I talked about how dash can, how deflect can be used to give you an opportunity by deflecting a burst of damage at the enemy, and then you can look for a combo to finish them off. Right? A bunch of different things. Now, let me quickly ask for a friend to come in so we can show some matchups. And I also have one more thing to talk about before. Okay. Real quick. One thing though that I think that the biggest factor that makes Deflect the hardest cooldown to squeeze the most value from in Overwatch isn't the fact that it is too complex of an ability. Sure, it has its complexity on when to use it, like how you should position with it, and whatnot that we have already talked about before, but you also have the same things for a lot of different cooldowns. So you have a defense matrix, for example. The thing that differentiates Deflect and makes it really high skill ceiling is the fact that you have to be not only good with your own projectile on Genji, because most of the time you're gonna be shooting on Genji with his projectile, you're not gonna be stealing someone else's gun. This is not Apex or another Battle Royale, right? What makes it the hardest cooldown, in my opinion, to use in Overwatch, or rather to squeeze the most value from, is the fact that you have to be good at using every weapon. Because when you're deflecting, you essentially can borrow everyone else's tools and weapons for the time that you're deflecting. Sure, there are exceptions for things that you cannot deflect. So you cannot deflect the Tesla, you cannot, from Winston, you cannot deflect the Zarya left click, primary fire. But you can deflect her secondary fire. So Genji players, if they want to take the most out of Deflect, they need to go ahead and play other characters, even if just a little bit, just to get a feel for the weapon. So, oh, Hanzo's weapon fires this fast, so if I deflect a Hanzo arrow, I have to position my crosshair this far ahead of the trajectory to actually get the kill, you know? I also need to make it look a little bit upward if I'm taking a long range shot, because otherwise I'm gonna hit the body shot, so I need to look upward, you know? So you as the Genji player, if you're looking to really improve your Deflect game, you need to go ahead and not only get good at a bunch of different aim styles, because different heroes are gonna have different aim styles, and also the same hero can apply different aim styles in different circumstances. So if you want an aiming guide, I have released that, and you can watch that, highly recommend. But you also have to get used at a bunch of different weapons, how they feel. So hit scan, obviously, you just need to put your crosshair at whatever target it is and shoot them. There's no compensation, there is no bounce. I don't have to, oh, this weapon is gonna bounce from the wall to here, right? It's not like Hanzo or Storm Arrow, which is also adds a little bit more to the skill ceiling of Genji. With now that Storm Arrows can bounce, Genji can also bounce them back, right? If the arrow didn't actually bounce beforehand, right, and burn that bounce charge, because it only bounces once. Not like bounces once, then you deflect and then it can bounce again. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works, but I haven't tested it, so you could always quickly check that. But you basically are gonna be wanting to get used to all the different weapons so that you can properly adjust your aim accordingly. Oh, this area is lobbying a right click, so I'm gonna look a little bit upward, and because of the distance, so I can actually get the splash damage and get that ult charge and get the pressure and whatnot. Oh, I'm playing against a hit scan weapon, so I need to aim directly at my opponent. You know? Oh, it's a fire strike. I have to late it a little bit. I have to consider the projectile speed. But that's basically it. Practice those specific weapons that you're most likely gonna find. Some of them are gonna be very rare to deflect, but you want to get used to that kind of stuff, especially stuff that you're gonna be deflecting often. Like, one cooldown that you really want to get good at deflecting, especially for Overwatch 2, is probably gonna be Annihilate. And is a really powerful support in Overwatch 2, and we can see that from Overwatch League, basically always playing Ana, right? And deflecting nade is a huge play in the neutral fight, and in any fight really, but in the neutral fight especially. So getting good at deflecting the nade so that you don't just so that the Ana doesn't enter your team, you also enter the enemy team, that gives you more value, right? Also, so we're gonna move on to some showcases of matchups, but I don't have the code on this account. So do you have the code for this? I'm pretty sure you said you had the code for the 1v1 arena, right? On your account. So you probably should make the lobby for me, if you can. Cause I don't want to swap from this account to the other right now. Or we can just quickly look for the code in the internet. Not like it's gonna take too much time for us to actually go ahead and look at it. Let me quickly see. Overwatch Aim Arena Workshop. No, this is. Oh wait, why Aim Arena? It's 1v1 arena. 1v1 arena. 1v1 arena workshop. Yep, there we go. Okay. Okay, I got it. Got the code. Oh, you made the lobby already? Wait, did you make the lobby? If you made it, I can join it. Yeah, let me join game. Just can you go to the either give me lobby ownership or make it so you can actually go for every hero. That would also be helpful. Also, if you could, I'm not trying to be rude, but let me lock this to invite only. And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna remove you from here because we're... Okay, there we go. And hi chat, Why? Why should I? I can join voice. I think it's better to join voice instead of you having to hear me with a delay on stream. So where is it? Lobby, match chat. There we go. So we can now talk in match chat. And thanks on. Let me turn everyone on. Not gonna be ideal to use this, but we can use this. And if this doesn't work for us to showcase the things I want, then we can just set up another custom, then I go to spawn and then you just swap heroes. Right, that can also work. If this workshop doesn't work.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Pera. I need to start this so I can actually say something because it is pushed to talk for some reason. It's not gonna let me. No. Why can I not start this? Oh, I know why I can't start this. I know why I can't start this. I need to swap to low ping. Let me disable this. Yep, there we go. Yeah, it kicked me from the game. Okay. So let me quickly log off Overwatch. I need to reboot Overwatch. So because I was on NA and he was on SA and we both need to be on the same server. So let me quickly do this and let me actually not use a Marina now that I think about it. And Overwatch is updating. Why? Oh no, please don't. Why are you updating now? Oh, this is stupid. Overwatch is updating out of nowhere. I really hope that this is just a small hotfix, because if it isn't, then we're going to be doing some VOD reviews. The live Discord channel? Okay, we can join Discord then, that's easier. Yeah, I also think that's better. And then I also need to remember, chat, remind me to read the new blog post that they made, the impact of data and player feedback on Overwatch 2's PvP beta. I wanna read that later. Hello. Can you do me a quick favor and tell me if we can hear Discord on the live stream? Probably should be able to, I just don't want to unhide everything so that I know if the audio is showing.
Just give me a second. Yeah, can totally hear it, but it's just, yeah, no, can hear it fine.
Okay.
I thought my mic was kind of low for a second, but
let me set up a custom and let me quickly check. Did the replays go away? No, they didn't. Okay, good. Otherwise, tomorrow would be screwed because we would have no VODs. Let me go and create a lobby. I'm actually not gonna be using the 1v1 arena. I think it's better for us to just go...
create a new one and just...
I'm just gonna select... Sure, Ilias, Heroes, General, Ultimate, where is Spawn with Ultimate? Spawn with Ultimate, enabled. And let me do... where is cooldowns? Or is there no cooldown for everyone?
Ability cooldown time, and then...
Oh, there we go, yeah.
Yeah, first one.
Let me put it at 10%. No, not 109. Damn. Okay, let me invite you. Invite only.
Yep.
My highlights were erased, but my saved pinned games are still there. Oh, okay. That's good. That's good, because then we can do VOD reviews tomorrow. And I have 3 VODs so far. I hope that I don't get more, because if I do, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get to every single VOD in time.
Pat, I wanted to show you that
Oh yeah.
soldier,
Oh yeah.
but I just went competitive and forgot to pin the
Oh,
replay,
rip.
so I lost it. Yeah.
Well, you can always just save the clip and post it in Discord.
Yeah.
But
No,
okay.
I didn't save it. That's a problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah. So we lost it.
Alrighty. So what is the first tank that is? We're gonna just go from quickly skim through everything, so just I can show some things.
Diva, Rissa.
No, just pick the leftmost one.
Okay.
Okay, Diva, there is nothing really special about her. She does a lot of damage close range, so if you deflect the damage close range, that's a lot of damage. And that was with her armor, right? So there isn't much with Diva. You cannot deflect her Diva bomb, although I wish so, but yeah. There isn't much to do with Diva. And she's hit cam,
Her
so...
rockets though.
I mean, yeah, the
I think
rockets...
something's worth noting is that if you're like right in front of me, the rockets can kill you.
Yeah, they can, but that's not really a thing that... I mean, it can kill you, but that's not really a thing that you think about in the situation. And especially because if you're shooting the rockets, you're also probably shooting yourself, right? Because otherwise you're just shooting the rockets and DMing. And if you're DMing, the deflect is gonna make you eat the rockets, so I'm not gonna take the self damage. So you're probably just gonna be shooting and using the rockets, and in that case I'm dealing more damage to you than you're dealing to me. So if I die, it's on my team most likely.
Yep.
Overwatch 1 Rissa, deflect. You can deflect the pull.
Oh.
And you can deflect a lot of damage, obviously. But ideally, when you get pulled, can you pull above me?
Yep.
You wanna wait for the pull to end and actually pull your team, because that's when the enemy team is gonna focus most of the damage. That's when you wanna deflect most often. And Genji is really actually, as long as you play it well and you're like playing further forward than your team, so that the moment that you get pulled, you're the first one in front, you can make your team basically avoid every single pull hook with that, as long as it isn't just like a really fat tank, right? That the Roadhog can avoid the deflect and still hook someone. But usually you want to wait for the end of the pull to actually deflect instead of deflecting the pull itself. But deflecting the pull can be good. Reinhardt, you can deflect the Fire Strike obviously, but most notably you can parry, so you can maintain yourself in an aggressive play. And I wish you could deflect the Shatter, but you can't. You just die. Oh yeah, respawn is at 10 seconds. Rip.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
Pretty sure CarCube has a like ability testing thing code that you can teleport around, and it's better if you can find it later.
That would be good. That would be useful
Yeah.
for later, but I'm not gonna do it now though.
Yeah,
This is
no.
already 50 minutes long.
Fire Strike?
Yeah, sure. I really can deflect Fire Strike, and I have discussed this before.
Yep.
But unless like outside of those scenarios where you're deflecting for the spam and deflecting to prevent the enemy Ryan from actually getting the outcharge, sometimes you actually want to tank that Fire Strike or simply avoid it and save your deflect for something else that's more dangerous, such as a Roadhog hook. Right. And let me try to do a reaction on you. Got it.
And I can feint it by doing this.
Yeah. I'll never fall for this. I don't think it's similar enough.
Yeah.
Like, that one, you can see that it is preemptive. I don't really like playing for the reaction. I mean, here we are on low ping, so I can actually probably reliably do it as long as I'm on the top of my game. But as you could see, I was paying attention to you, full focus,
Yeah,
and I
go
didn't
heal.
get the deflect.
Go heal, you're gonna die.
You don't trust that I'm gonna deflect?
Not really.
But yeah, the thing is, Roadhog Hook is fast to a point where deflecting it reliably on reaction is not gonna happen. Like, even if you put like the top players on reaction speed, you probably wouldn't be able to do it consistently. And if you're on high ping like I do, I don't ever do it on reaction, so I'm really bad at this. I usually just do it preemptively and respect the hog and go away. But that's a high ping problem, not a low ping problem. And that's something that, if you can deflect on reaction, then that's good.
Whole hog can also be deflected.
But you can just look at the ground.
Yep.
And I should not have killed you.
No worries.
Where is the
5
closest mini? There is no close mini here, right? It's only the mega. Wow.
Yeah, there might be one. No, never mind.
No, there isn't.
There's nothing there. I thought it would be kind of like Elio Swell, but it is.
Sigma obviously can deflect his shots, but if the shots actually splash close to you, you're gonna take damage. That's important to note. And also especially because sometimes you're gonna try to drop on someone from above, just like I said before, to do a sneaky deflect, and then you boom deflect for spam. Then if the Sigma turns to rock and then you don't have dash available or you don't react in time, you're probably just gonna be one shot. Obviously it can one shot either way, but because you also deflected the spam in his face, you also have gonna be taken. God, that wording was horrible, but you're gonna have taken a little bit of extra damage, which is gonna make it just a little bit easier on the enemy team to screw you. But Sigma, you can only really deflect his shots if you see the rock. If you see the rock, you just, instead of actually keeping the deflect up, you dash out, right? You try to react to it in time and dash away from there, because if you get hit by the rock, you should expect to die.
I'm gonna skip Winston or Primal. I think Primal's worth showing.
Yeah. Winston, you cannot deflect his Tesla, but you can parry his Primal, and you will get booped far away, and that won't save you in a corner. I mean, that will save you from taking the damage in a corner, but if it jumps during that, or you don't have ult, right? You probably need to go swap if you want the ult. But you still will take the landing damage, so if you are stuck in a corner, you will probably be jumping, and you're gonna be taking the damage from these jumps, as you can see. I did take 50 damage from the jump, and the jump damage is increased during Primal. So it is dangerous, and it's only really a stalling tactic if you get stuck in a corner. You don't want to just always default to deflect Primal if you can try to avoid it. Unless you're in an open space and you're using the boops while not taking damage. Wrecking Ball, you're deflecting his shots, but you have is going for an engagement. Go for a power drive on me. You don't know how to play ball, do you? Grapple top.
Nope. Yeah, okay. Give me a sec. Just give me a sec.
Right?
Got it.
You can deflect after the pile drive, which is the moment that the ball is going to get out of ball form to shoot you, but that only is gonna work for a little bit of time, and if you're getting pile drive, you're probably getting focused. So if ball is going for a pile drive on you, then you want to dash out, and you can dash upward to avoid full damage, and then you can use the deflect between shots to get more uptime in the fight and actually get some pressure done on the ball. If the ball plays really well, you still lose, but it is important to note that you can do pretty meaningful damage and possibly force the ball out, as long as you avoid that unblockable damage from the power drive. And Fireball does damage you through deflect, you cannot parry that. So that's worth noting. So ball can really screw you by just never shooting and just doing double, triple boops or stupid stuff like that.
Mines?
Mines you cannot deflect.
Yeah.
Zarya you can deflect grab, very cool.
Yep.
You can also deflect the right clicks. But this isn't that likely to happen. And you can make it more likely by surprising her with a drop or simply by coming out of a corner. But most of the time, if you see a Zarya, and she wants to grab, and she sees you deflect, she's gonna look below. You're stupid.
No, I thought you wanted me to shoot the deflect.
No, already showed that. If the Zarya sees you deflect, she's just gonna look below you and get the grab easily, and you're gonna be like, I deflected that! And you're gonna complain like every Genji main does, but in reality that was very far away and the Zarya knew you were deflecting and shot below you or to the side. Getting grab deflects is more on the Zarya playing it badly than you playing it well. Although there are some cases where you do play it well. So for instance, if just like a Diva versus a Zarya in the matchup, just like you can just full focus the Zarya when she has grab, right? So you're dealing a lot of damage, so she is forced to, she wants to grab that fight, and then you deflect and then she grabs in panic, right? Because she needs to do it before she dies, then you can get the grab deflect. But that's a very specific scenario where the strategy is focus the Zarya, pressure her out so she doesn't really have an option with the grab. So you're forcing a mistake, basically. And it's again, it's a problem on the Zarya, not on you playing too well, although you're trying to force the mistake. Right. Ashe, same, any high damage output weapon, it's important for you to deflect instead of taking the damage, because otherwise it is big burst. So if you deflect, and then you can instantly dash, kill, ghost dash, swag on the enemy. But Coach Gun is also meaningful to deflect at certain ranges, but the thing is, if you deflect Coach Gun, and here's a really interesting tip, Coach Gun me, I'm gonna get booped from the damage and she's gonna get booped from the knockback. If I deflect the Coach Gun on her, she's gonna get booped further because she's taking both her knockback and the damage, right? But you can alternatively deflect the Coach Gun to the side. No, don't hit yourself. I'm gonna miss you. Alternatively, you can miss on purpose the Coach Gun deflect so she moves less, because that's only one knockback. So that's an interesting case of you literally wanting to miss the deflect so that you get a better outcome. Although, on the distances that you're deflecting Coach Gun usually are distances that the moment that don't walk forward after.
Okay.
The distances that you wanna deflect the Coach Gun are distances that actually let's move from the corner because it's not gonna show in the corner. In the distances that you want to, we have to wait for the Coach Gun, right?
No.
Oh, cool down. Okay. Yeah. In the distances that you want to deflect Coach Gun, usually you're gonna be, even if you hit both knockbacks, so knockback on you and knockback on her, or both knockbacks on her, the dash is gonna be covering usually a perfect distance for a combo, just like shown here. But that is in ideal scenarios. If you're further away, you're not gonna actually get that, and then you're stuck mid-range against a character that is better at you at mid-range. So there are situations where you purposefully want to miss the deflect so that you can actually be in range to look for a one-shot. Look for a combo follow-up. And you can deflect TNT, but that's not reliable. Unless you're really close to her or she just misses the TNT. If you're at the range where she wants to TNT for spam, right? If you're at the range where she wants to TNT for spam, she's just gonna hit the TNT, she's not gonna let you deflect, right? It's really rare to actually get these deflects.
Yep.
So it's mostly you're thinking about deflecting her Ashe's damage, like her weapon damage, because the Coach Gun deflects can matter, but usually it doesn't, because usually it doesn't unless you specifically want only a single knockback instance instead of two happening.
And you also cannot ignite the TNT.
Yeah. Which is done.
Yeah.
You cannot detonate Junk's mine. I don't know how it detonates.
He has to. Yeah, he has to right click it.
Bastion. It's just his weapon, although in Overwatch 2 there's gonna be a nade which you can deflect. So just basic stuff. and you can deflect Bastion's ultimate.
Yep.
And in Overwatch 2 you also can deflect, but in Overwatch 2 it's gonna be way harder with the artillery to actually get damage on the enemy. You're likely just gonna be deflecting the ultimate to avoid the damage, not to get it to one-shot someone.
Yep. And usually Bastions will just like deal splash damage.
Yeah.
So.
And going for a deflect on the Bastion isn't actually usually the best thing, because for you to be able to actually get the Bastion on the tank form, right? To get the ultimate deflect, you're gonna be playing so far up, because the Bastion is, unless he's a freak, he won't be flanking, right? Obviously you can do the surprise drop, but unless the Bastion has really bad reaction time, he will survive. If the Bastion has tank form and you're in a distance to deflect very close range, so he cannot really shoot at the ground, then the thing is, even if you deflect, look at this, I can't really one-shot you after because I'm not in a place where I can hit your crit box.
That, and he has the passive armor.
Yeah, passive armor plus the passive 20% damage reduction.
Yeah, I meant the damage reduction.
Yeah, so all in all, it's cool, but it's not realistic. That's the big thing with Bastion. It's cool, but it's not realistic. And Cassidy, very, very interesting. So let's see which distance I can't deflect, if you look at the ground.
Oh, sure.
So, in this distance I can. In this distance I can. Go here. I still can, wow.
Yep.
Okay, in this is the distance where you usually will be against a Cassidy. You won't like literally be hugging him most of the time, because you cannot react to his movement perfectly, right? You cannot react to his movement perfectly in real time because he's gonna be moving as well, so you won't be in the perfect distance to deflect. So if you look to do this and he looks at the ground, you're likely stunned, right? So the trick is, let's go back and find the distance. Okay, if you're in this situation, if you tilt it, look at the ground, you're gonna deflect because the hitbox manipulation, which I talked before, but probably in the video it's gonna be later and we're gonna just pick the section that I talked in early and put it here. But by using the hitbox manipulation, you can extend the range where you can deflect a flashbang. Right. Right? By manipulating the hitbox. So when you go to engage a Cassidy and you're trying to fight him very close range to avoid the flashbang, you want to deflect and look upward to increase your chances of deflecting that flashbang. Because after the flashbang it's just an aim duel. It's just about who plays better, right? Oh hey, I'm missing all my shots, so I should lose. Just about who has the better aim, as long as you can trade your deflect for the flashbang and no one gets stunned. There are cases where obviously the Cassidy will just stun himself and you just get a one shot on him, but that's not gonna happen often unless you realistically surprise him.
Yep.
And obviously you can deflect High Noon, but in Overwatch 2, since he's gonna have damage reduction on his ultimate, I doubt that they're gonna be changing that. Then he's gonna probably survive that play, and that also means that if you try to engage him while he's 9-nooning, right, and you try to engage him and look for a combo, he will survive the combo. So let me just do body shots to show.
Oh,
he would survive. No, that's fine. He will survive your combo even if you hit the headshots, because he has around like 400 effective HP with the current values of 40% damage reduction on ultimate. So you can deflect to buy time, but even if you deflect the ultimate, you're not likely to kill him, which means that if your team is in line of sight, then he will not like kill himself and lose the kills on your team. He's gonna get the kills on your team. So use it while you can to deflect his ultimate and deny him great value, because in Overwatch 2 deflecting his ultimate is less reliable and he has to fear you less. And he can also wait for you to, like, let's say you dash engage him when his ultimate, using ultimate, right? And then you instant deflect so that you can more easily like look for the one shot. You're not gonna get that one shot alone. You're gonna need your team to actually put damage into him in Overwatch 2. But this is Overwatch 1, so we're not going deeper than that here. And it's also subject to change. Doomfist, you cannot deflect a single cooldown he has. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
Doomfist has a really one-sided matchup as far as that goes. Which is why your spacing really matters.
You can deflect the uppercut damage.
No. You can't.
Oh.
You cannot. You cannot deflect a single of his abilities. The only thing that you can deflect is the hand cannon, which is important. Like, let's say you uppercut me and then you want to follow up. That is some good damage I deflected. And that's the moment where you line up the most hand cannon damage on me.
Yep.
But Doomfist in general, you're trying to space yourself against him, so in a place where he has to use multiple cooldowns to get to you, so he has to uppercut and seismic, and then you can kite him using your mobility, and then look at this. Outplay 3 cooldowns, then I can poke him, and look at this, he's low, and I can probably finish him off, right? It's not really about deflect against Doomfist. Echo, you can deflect sticky bombs, and that's really important, but it is gonna be hard to land it on an Echo that is flying because of her extra mobility during the glide. She moves faster than an ulting Genji while she's gliding, as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong on that, but I did research that in the past. So
You definitely need to heal.
yeah. And you cannot deflect the beam.
Oh,
What?
yeah.
You cannot deflect the beam, so if I'm half HP... Wait, let me... wait. I want to be half HP.
Body shot,
Yeah.
shot. Yeah.
So if you're like half HP and you're trying to survive the Echo, she's just gonna beam you and kill you. So the deflect has to be out of respect 99% of the times against the Echo. Unless you're in a situation where you can really look to deflect early to get some extra damage in, to look for a one-shot through a pocket, for example, you're deflecting out of respect and out of fear that you're gonna go below 50% HP. Because the thing is, beam is 16 meters, dash is 15. So if I'm really close range to an Echo, she gets me to half HP, right? If I'm really close range to an Echo, I'm fighting her, she gets me to half HP, I remember, no, the beam, right? And then instead of deflecting, I try to dash away, the beam is still gonna catch me. And I haven't even talked about her matching my mobility with the dash, with her flight. So, against Echo, you have to be really careful about the engagement and think that you only have 100 HP basically, because the other 100 is gonna disappear. It's basically non-existent in the matchup. Also, one thing, Echoes are often gonna copy Genji, even when they're better copies, and they're likely going to go aggressive immediately. So you can look to punish that. Sometimes you can simply be in her face to deflect the spam that you want to do immediately to try to find Blade, and then punish her with the half HP that you will likely be out of copy. Right? But that's not that likely, and it's not too much about deflect, it's more about you trying to burst the Echo so that she doesn't get value from the copy. Although you can think about the copy the same way as you think about other heroes, because she is copying other heroes, right? So if she's copying a Reinhardt, you can parry the attacks all the same. Same thing with Genji. With Genji is a likely target for her to copy, so if she has ultimates during that blade, during that copy, you killed me.
Yeah, my bad. It's because ultimate generation is super slow.
If she kills you during if she farms blades during the copy, you can deflect the swings, which is gonna be useful because you probably want to play aggressive on that Echo to get as much damage in and try to get her out of copy, so that she doesn't team wipe your team, right? So if you can sustain yourself in that close range fight, better, because against Genji you can deflect basically everything he does. So you can deflect the swings, you can deflect the shots obviously, the only thing that you cannot deflect is the dash. Although, even though you cannot deflect the dash, one of the biggest things in the Genji versus Genji matchup is gonna be reading when your opponent wants to go for a... So deflect and I'm gonna kill myself. Wait, I didn't. We need to heal.
Yep.
You should go to... Oh yeah, you have spawn. I forgot.
Yeah.
If the opponent wants to go for a combo close range like this... Wait, let me... Should, yeah. If the Genji wants to go for a combo like this, if he is close, which he likely is, if you read the timing on the enemy, right, you can deflect and then look at this. I took more damage than he did because he deflected my shots and he only dealt the dash damage. So that can be very important. And if that's a full headshot, then he can just dash me and then I'm dead. Right, that's a one shot. So that's an important thing on the Genji matchup. And also, during the blade, if you're trying to blade the other Genji, try to blade me.
Yeah, I need to.
To swap.
Yep.
If a Genji for some reason wants to blade you, you can burn half of his blade by deflecting and then dashing away and forcing him to actually use his dash to follow yours and then get 2 full swings off. So you can burn minimum of 3 seconds of his blade, which obviously isn't ideal for you to lose your life for it, but if you cannot run away from it, burning half of his blade is a good play, and that's not considering you fighting back, right? During the swings, you can try to fight back, and when you're running, you can try to poke him out, and maybe you get the kill, maybe you don't. Let me drink some water.
Yep. Just an FYI for a second, I might need to be right back. Not right now, though in like 10-15 minutes.
That should be fine. We did all of this already in 10 to 15 minutes, so...
Yeah.
Hanzo, high damage output, you want to deflect the shot or use it to bait out the shot. Doesn't necessarily need to hit him. As long as you deflect the shot, then you can engage him safely because he won't be able to catch you during your dash, which is your most vulnerable moment when you're trying to close the gap, right? And you can deflect everything that he does, even the storm arrows. Now, really quick, look at the ground and shoot one body shot at me. Like, you try to bounce a body shot. Alright.
Yep.
Now, next one. Okay, yeah. You don't get extra bounce charges. So, you can increase your skill ceiling on Genji, on Deflect, by learning Deflect spots on Hanzo. So let me... wait.
My bad.
Nah, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
go. And then
Yeah.
we're gonna have to search a spot. But I'm actually just gonna look at the ground. Not the best.
Here's a flat wall.
Okay.
Yep.
Wait, I pressed the wrong... Next storm arrow.
Yep.
Okay, I got it. You can theoretically go ahead and deflect a bounce storm arrow if the storm arrow first hits you, doesn't hit the surface, but that's really unlikely. So if you want, you can practice Hanzo bounce spot for Genji, but it's so situational, it's just like, fuck it, just don't. It's not worth it. You might as well just look at him, because if he's shooting storm arrows at you, he's not gonna be behind cover because he cannot shoot through walls, right? Unless you're trying to finish someone that isn't the Hanzo and he just happens to be shooting you, then maybe the bounce will be useful because you're trying to finish someone that is behind cover, for example. And that isn't the Hanzo. But that's about it. That's all I can think about. And obviously deflect the ultimate. You can headshot with it. I just didn't want to kill my brother.
You can also kill me through walls. So go over there.
Wait, where are you?
Yeah. Stay where my mark is.
Where your mark is? Okay, that's not where you are at. Actually, let me do a Sonic. No, shoot a Sonic on me.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Shoot a Sonic on me so I can aim. There you go. Oh!
Yeah,
I forgot
about that.
No, I forgot about the that I deflect the Sonic.
Yeah.
Forgot to reactivate it. Oh, I forgot that I made the Overwatch volume very stupidly low. Oh, it isn't that big of a deal, but I'm gonna have to turn it higher later. Okay, I'm ready. You can even kill people through walls with the dragon arrow, but again, that's unlikely. So that's a niche case. You're likely just trying to deflect the ultimate and get the splash damage, right? Deflecting the dragon to establish dominance. That's sure. Show you that you're the most powerful brother.
Oh, my bad.
Junkrat, just like any high damage weapon, you want to deflect the shot, not to take that damage. But you have to be aware that he doesn't have to necessarily shoot at you. He can just wait it out, or he can use the nades to the side and splash you anyway. No.
Yeah, okay. I got what you mean.
He doesn't have to shoot you, or he can simply explode the nade before you can deflect, depending on the range, or simply look below and not let you deflect or something. Like this. He doesn't necessarily need to let you deflect. He can just damage you. Wait.
Yeah.
He can just damage you before the deflect. Like this. Oh yeah, and you can deflect quickly. Let me kill you.
Yep.
Let me get you low. You can deflect his balls. Very important trick. Don't die by his balls. Get his balls and make them yours. That's probably gonna get cut from the video. Okay.
Deflect really quick.
Oh yeah, go for the trap.
So...
No, go for the trap.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot deflect trap. One thing that junks are often gonna do when you're trying to deflect on their face fast enough and dash away or move away, then you're just gonna die. My bitrate is bad. Okay, never mind, it's back.
Oh.
What were you thinking?
Riptire, but of course.
Riptire cannot be deflected. It just can't. You can imagine all you want, but you will never be able to deflect Riptire.
And I think it's worth noting that his shift detonates on impact, not whenever I press it or whenever you press it.
Yeah. So if I deflect the nade, I cannot press the button that would be Junk's button to detonate to actually detonate it. It's gonna be when it touches something. May, you can deflect the secondary fire, not the primary fire. And deflecting a secondary fire can be very useful because it deals a lot of damage. But the only real thing that you have to consider when deflecting is May's ultimate. Obviously you do it when... You can obviously, and in May's case, I'm just gonna wait to do reaction on your ultimate. She has such a big wind-up time that it's so easy for you to react to. So you should be able to do a reaction as long as the Mei doesn't actually try to avoid you. Because otherwise, if she ults smart, you're not gonna be able to deflect. But Mei's ultimate is not something that you preemptively deflect, it's something that you reactively deflect because it's extremely reliable. She has a stupidly long cast time. So unless she looks at the ground like that, you're getting that deflect off. Pharah, you can deflect rockets, same thing as any high damage output weapon. And let me quickly heal. You can deflect barrage, but you're also possibly... you can possibly kill yourself in the process of deflecting barrage. Like, look at how much damage I took, and that was not even taking splash from the rockets that I threw back at her. Right? That is simply the damage from me being at the ground and the rockets I didn't deflect. So if we're closer together, just literally sit on my head.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you do take quite a sizable amount of damage from just the splash you, from the rockets that are shooting back at her, damaging you. So that coupled with any other damage that you might be taking in the fight, plus the damage of the rockets that you're not gonna be deflecting because she's not gonna be immediately onto you. So the like damage from the ground, you're likely gonna die for the play. And especially if the fairy is barraging, do not dash her to try to look for the deflect. Or at least don't dash forward onto her. Because if you do, look for barrage, you're just gonna die on entry before you can really get the deflect off. Stuck on grab. Nice. I feel like barrages are RNG a lot of times. When you see a barrage, it is tempting to deflect, but you most likely just want to line up headshots and go for the headshots. And don't even bother with dash. You can also deflect the boop, but you're not really thinking about deflecting the boop. Ever. Like, ever, ever, ever. You're never thinking about that. Reaper, high damage output weapon, same thing, and you can deflect his ultimate. Although, real important note about deflecting his ultimate. You're gonna be able to deal quite a bit of damage to him by deflecting the ultimate. But be wary, it isn't actually that much damage when you stop to think about it, because the Reaper is gonna be life-stealing off your teammates. So you're simply gonna be negating the heal he gets from a single player, most likely. So he might be gaining health even with you deflecting Blossom, because he's gonna be shooting other people. So deflect that is mostly to make you avoid the damage and make it so that you can line up a... let's quickly out. Deflect is most likely for the Reaper going to be to actually go ahead and try to line up a combo. And the case that I fail, I obviously die, but if I can actually go ahead and deflect, cancel the deflect and get the triple headshot melee, that's over 300 damage, as long as my team does a little bit of damage on him, or if I have the dash instead of the melee, so that's an extra 20 for the burst, then he's likely dead. But that's about it for Reaper, there isn't much to think about. Soldier, the main thing, sure he can deal a lot of damage with the primary, but it's not like Bastion. So the thing that you're really thinking about deflecting is the rockets in a duel. And obviously he can just wait, or he can just look at the ground and splash. And you will take more damage than he will take. And you can...
He has heal.
And you can deflect Visor. That's mostly to buy time. Like, I did some damage, but it's not that reliable. I feel like it's not reliable because we're not on LAN. Like, the ping makes a lot of the damage no rag from the deflect on the Visor.
You want another ultimate? Or...
No, it's fine. Also, this is gonna be a sizable file. We're in 1 hour and 30 now.
Oh wow.
Sombra, you can deflect her gun and that's gonna be good burst, but you're not often gonna actually be getting good damage from the deflect. And she can just hack you during. So if you're trying to deflect against the Sombra, you're either cancelling and shooting her or dashing when she tries to cast the hack, right? But that also can be not reliable because you can get hacked and deal damage, which doesn't make sense, but whatever. But other than that, if you're deflecting and she's trying to hack you and you want to keep your deflect, that's because there is a hit scan weapon on the enemy team. So let's say there's a tracer, a soldier that are shooting at you, and you spray that damage back with hit scan, so it instantly travels to her and cancels the hack. That's one moment where you keep the deflect instead of trying to cancel it to look for the damage, right? To cancel her hack. And that's the only thing that you can deflect. Sinatra, you cannot deflect her beam, you cannot deflect turrets, but you can deflect her orbs. Yeah, I'm dead.
Oh, it was the. There was like just a blue dot on your face, and I thought my beam just for some reason stopped working properly.
So you can deflect her shots, but at mid-range, you're not really gonna be hitting them. I mean, sure, she isn't gonna be really hitting them either, you just dodge them. Right? But if you try to hit them back, it's also probably not gonna hit. Unless you're a dumbass like my friend that just walks into them.
Hey, I have a really terrible reaction time.
But that's mostly to... I mean, that's mostly close range. You're not really gonna be doing that mid-range, it's literally just a waste. Oh, pink Torb.
Yep, pink and golden gun.
Torb. You can deflect spam, and there is a fast projectile. But you're mostly deflecting Torb for spam. Unless you're like really close range, then you're trying to shoot, deflect when he tries to go for the shotgun, right? What up, Tyrannic? But the truth is, in a brawl, in a close range brawl, Torb has more stats than Genji, so he really needs to hit a lot of shots. So the deflect can be interesting, but the deflect won't do much unless you have already removed his armor health. And the thing that you have to remember is, when he overloads, so let's say I poked him out.
Oh, yeah, overload.
Let's say I poke him out, right? A little bit, so he doesn't have armor anymore. But then he overloads, and then he starts to go for the shotgun. Even though that's a full headshot, that only took the armor off, because armor is really good against shotguns in Overwatch 1. That's not gonna be a thing anymore in Overwatch 2, it's just gonna be over health for Torb, which is gonna be a big buff in this matchup for Genji. But in Overwatch 1, you really have to be careful about the armor, so Deflect is most likely to actually just use in the duel. Let's just duel and you use Overload.
Yeah.
You're most likely just using the Deflect as a way to stay safe during 2 right clicks. And if you miss the window that you have during that, you should not be playing that close, because otherwise you're just getting hard screwed by being outstatsed, right? You really need to be hitting triple headshot, deflect, a little bit of damage from that, plus keeping you safe, and then triple headshot melee, or triple headshot dash, or whatever. And you can deflect his ultimate. But that won't usually get you too much done. It's good for zoning, but I don't think it's really ultimate that you go in like, oh, I'm gonna dash in and deflect. It's not really that kind of ultimate. You can deflect post boom, although it isn't something that you're gonna be doing on reaction really. You're mostly going to be deflecting to avoid a little bit of damage from one of her clips. Right, so then, and the big thing is, with Genji having 29 damage shurikens, like if you had 30 damage, that is 5 shurikens has to hit, or 2 headshots and 1 body shot. But if you do just like 5 damage from deflecting the shurikens back at, rather the spray at her, so just a tiny bit, that means you have to hit 1 less shuriken. So if you simply are trying to poke her out in a duel, right, you're just spamming, and you deflect a little bit while she's shooting, that's gonna be enough to lower your breakpoint on her, which is really important. Whether you will likely want to use your deflect to bait out a shot and maybe try to get a 1-shot. And other than that, you can actually deflect the Venom Mine, but you're not often gonna be actually doing that. Because if you're in range to deflect the Venom Mine, she's not gonna be using a Venom Mine on you. She's gonna be using her SMG. Wait, let me deflect it.
Second. Yeah, got it.
You can deflect it, but it's not likely for it to actually happen. And funny thing, actually, go ahead and put it one again.
Yep.
Show it at me. If you get a Venom Mine deflected, it won't override the one that she currently has. So one Widowmaker in the match can actually have 2 mines up. If one of the mines is deflected and thus is considered Genji's mine instead of her mine. Deflecting Ana is really important, both Sleep Dart and Nade. But the thing is, if you get hit by nades, if she looks down, no, shoot the nade down.
Yeah.
Yeah. She can just do the same thing as other heroes can usually do with splash abilities and look at the ground, although you can try to use the trick to deflect to the bigger range, but in case of the nade, since you would like to be looking upward instead of downward to make the hitbox better on yourself, that's you're gonna waste the nade, that's only gonna deflect the nade away. And if you wanna deflect one of the 2 cooldowns, getting hit by the nade is not gonna kill you, you can just dash out. But if you get hit by the Sleep Dart though, then you're just dead. So you wanna be looking to deflect the Sleep Dart. Plus, the Sleep Dart has a wind up time while the nade doesn't, so you can react to that. And deflect it.
I think it's worth noting, most Ana players will, instead of looking down, will look behind them to nade. That is something that I remember ML7, which is an Ana main, in case anyone doesn't know. He always says, whenever there's a Genji, you... Not how I did right now, but you always just... you don't want to necessarily hit him, you just want to heal yourself. Because most of the time you will be low.
And not only that, targets that are above 200 HP are not something that Genji usually wants to fight, so simply increasing her effective HP by healing herself with the nade is good. Don't necessarily have to hit the Genji. But yeah, as long as you can use your deflect to not get insta-killed by the Sleep Dart basically, then it is a fair matchup where maybe neither of them die, but that's okay. That's an okay matchup, especially for the Genji since he is taking away uptime from the support, which is the more valuable role than the DPS. Right. Baptiste, I wish you could deflect drone, but you can't.
Oh, immortality. It's because it didn't register in my headphones.
You cannot deflect drone. Well, it should be obvious, but whatever. Although, the thing that's important to note is deflecting his damage is very scary for him.
Okay.
Look at this much damage. He has, and the biggest thing that makes deflecting his damage very important that it is burst. Although you have, especially in this matchup with Pep's movement being so weird, if you're trying to deflect his shots, you're not likely going to actually get that much damage in from the deflect. You're likely just using it to stay safe during the time between 2 shots. Although there are some times where, especially when he has window up, then you can just line up a deflect that's gonna either with just the BAP shooting one-shot someone, or someone else shooting, you're gonna be wanting to deflect those sources of damage that are doubled. But then again, you have to remember about the sources of damage that can be doubled and can avoid the deflect, right? So if someone's shooting right below you. Brig, you can deflect both her flail and the whip shot. And look at this. When she hits me, you can see the aura of the Inspire. When she hits me while I'm deflecting, since she doesn't do damage, she doesn't get the Inspire off. So if you're on a duel with the Brig, you're trying to deflect the whip shot most likely and try to stay away from her, or try to deflect her flail depending on the range to prevent her from getting the Inspire off. Inspire is very important to Brig. So ideally against Brig you want to play above, and above her, since you are not going to be able to get bashed while above her, or she'll likely miss because she will be confused as where you will land, right? If you play above, and she'll most likely have to guess, or just take some more time and then risk you double jumping again. But just keep in mind, it's not like you're gonna be really winning the duels. It's more like you're gonna be able to prevent the damage from her and maybe prevent her from getting inspired. And that is especially useful when you have like an angle and you're looking to poke, and then she just looks at you like she's gonna be able to trigger inspire off in the distance, and you just deflect it and you just waste your cold, and then you keep poking and she doesn't have those AoE heals anymore, right? You can see how effective this is at forcing the Brig out. But yeah, what is next?
Lucio.
Is Lucio the last one? No, it's Zen.
No, there's Mercy, then Zenyatta.
Okay.
Mercy, Moira, and Zenyatta.
Let's actually do a countdown real quick, and we're gonna shoot in that direction. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Lucio's projectile are close to the speed of Genji, but they're a little bit slower, which should be familiar to Genjis when they're trying to deflect and line up shots, as far as how they have to aim to actually be landing those. But in the duo versus a Lucio, you can see how weird his movement is. It can be hard to actually predict where he's gonna be going. Like, I'm trying to track with micro flicks to make my chances of hitting him better, because just tracking is gonna be awkward against such a target on projectile. So I'm trying to track with flicks, which can be a technique that in that case worked really well. But it also looks very weird and it can confuse you as the player. So against the Lucio, you're not actually likely to get much damage done from the deflect on his shots. And since you can't deflect Boop, the only thing you're really deflecting is to effectively have more HP by avoiding some of the shots that are meant for you, right? So you sustain yourself in the fight for a little bit longer. But that's about it on the Lucio matchup. For Mercy, be aware of how dumb the hitbox of her pistol is. Like, I'm so far away.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting. Like, I really... So, when the Mercy tries to pistol you, you have to be aware that you don't have to actually aim that well, so the deflect is gonna land very consistently on that Mercy.
Moira?
Moira, you can't deflect her suck, but you can deflect her orbs. And it's really interesting because sometimes you want to deflect the healing orb, so that you can actually push with your team and maybe sustain yourself in the fight. Like, look at this. I'm full HP and I shot 5 times in there. Sure, I missed a bunch, but that just means that I have more room to make mistakes and still have a chance at actually killing her. Because in the Moira duel, you have to actually hit a lot of shots, right? And if she tries to heal, then you deflect the Moira orb so that you sustain yourself instead of her. And if she damage orbs, then you try to deflect the orb so that she bursts herself and you force the fade earlier. So both orbs are really good to deflect in the matchup, but she doesn't have to shoot it at you. She can just shoot it at the side.
Okay.
So if you're looking at the duel, she just looks away and I cannot deflect that and I'm suddenly very low very quick. And she can do the same with the healing orb, so she just accompanies it and gives the Genji no chance of actually deflecting the orb. Then, deflecting the volleys are important, not to get bursted yourself, and you can use that to snipe other players as well. You don't necessarily need to aim at the Zen. Although Zenyatta's usually will, when they're trying to aim a volley, will stand still, because that makes aiming easier, right? And also they try to do that because look at the hitbox on the Zenyatta, when he does an orb. So this is head level. Now look, shoot forward, I'm gonna be at the side.
Okay.
You can see how his head dips when he shoots the volley forward. So that's another reason why standing still as Zen when shooting the volley isn't as dangerous, because you're shifting your head hitbox. It's still easy to hit, it still has a massive hitbox. But that just encourages, again, standing still, which is why if you do a surprise drop on a Zen that is trying to snipe, you can just get a really good deflect off on by surprise on him. Stand closer here.
Yep.
And spam there. Right? Very, very, very easy to get those assassinations. Although sure, you can also look for the shots in those cases and save the deflect. But then you have to judge how easy it is. Because if he's strafing a little bit while doing it, just holding the deflect in the middle of his strafe is gonna hit probably a bunch of body shots instead of headshots, but since it's so much damage from the quick burst, then you're either getting the kill or you're so close that you can immediately fall. Right? But yeah, that's the only thing. If the Zen sees you deflect, he can just cancel it, and then you wasted your cooldown, and then he's gonna discard you, and then your effective HP is way lower. So it is actually a very skill dependent matchup. Very skill dependent matchup. And the truth is, Zenyatta can only one-shot Genji with triple headshot without discord or double headshot with discord. So that's the moment where you actually deflect. If you are discorded and the Zen charges 2 orbs, that's the first moment that you actually look for deflect. You don't look for deflect earlier than that. Which is also the moment that if he plays mind games, the moment that he cancels it, right? He won't cancel it earlier in the volley. Right? So this is a very skill dependent matchup, mind game dependent matchup. You can also just, instead of deflecting, you can just look to pressure him out a lot. And then he's not gonna have the luxury anymore of waiting for your deflect. And he's just gonna spam you. So if you just hold deflect in his face after spamming him a bunch, then he'll probably just kill himself. But that just goes about any hero. If you make them low, they're gonna panic. And then they're gonna think that since they are low, you're gonna drop deflect to follow up the shots, right? But no, since their shots can kill them, you don't need to drop your deflect if they're low. So let's say he's low, he's spamming, I don't need to drop my deflect. I can just keep holding until I hit one shot on him and actually filling him. And it's gonna happen at some point. There we go. Finally did it. But you can see.
Be right back a second.
Okay. Oh wait, it didn't is the end already? That was the last one, right? Wait, did you already go? Oh, he already went. Okay. Well, that should be it. That should be the full list. That is way too many heroes. This actually ended up taking 1 whole hour to just record the matchup, so... Yeah, this is gonna be rough to edit. But yeah. So...
Okay, I am back.
Zen is the last one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're done here. I don't have to take more time from you. Thank you again.
No worries.
And are you gonna play later?
Probably.
Alright.
I'm just playing Minecraft right now, but later I'll...
Okay.
Yeah.
I closed Overwatch. Oh yeah. You know what? Whatever. I can do this without Overwatch open because I'm literally just gonna read the. Do you want to hear it as well? The impact of data and player feedback on Overwatch 2's PvP beta.
Sure. Let me just.
Because I'm not gonna play ranked because ranked is way too shit.
Yeah, I agree. You know how to make ranked games fun? Get a duo DPS, and you go either Bastion or Symmetra, and he goes either Bastion or Symmetra. And he just flank and go into some spots. It's funny.
Let me actually set up this while we go to the bathroom.
Yeah, be right back.
Window capture. Yep, there we go. It already picked up. Perfect. Overwatch show PvP beta analysis. Can I make this full screen? You know what, whatever. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna flex on all of you the fact that George Lyon is my friend now. And also I did friend Neckers on another account, so... Very cool. I'm becoming friends with all of the top level players, top level Genjis. But yeah, let's Let me block this. And let's read this when my friend comes back. And then we're gonna end the stream because I don't want to play ranked. Oh yeah, I forgot to ask, but do you guys have any questions about Deflect? Because I mean, I already ended the recording. It's already almost 2 hours long. But if you have any questions, then we can always just save the stream and or you can just start another recording, right? Deflect guide. Let me rename this. There we go. But yeah, if you have any questions, then just feel free to ask them before we go over this article. And then, I mean, it's not necessarily an article. I think it's a blog post, right? Is a blog post an article? Is this an article? I don't know. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, but I've downloaded all of the music in Spotify that I have on the playlist, so it won't... Theoretically, it shouldn't do the bug anymore where it cannot play the music for some reason or another. And yeah, this seems interesting. I'm not gonna read it yet, but it seems like there's a lot of text, a lot of in-depth analysis, I would guess, because they have a bunch of interesting graphs. And it is very cool to see that they're actually keeping up with the news even after the beta. They're not just, okay, beta wave is done. We got the info that we need. Okay, we're gonna not talk to you in 1 month, until June 14th, I think. Or was it June 16th that the next announcement comes? Right? So it's good to see they're still communicating with us and they're being transparent. That's really important. Like one of the previous blog posts, I don't remember which one, like was very transparent in like what their objective was. So supports aren't being fun, so we're trying to make the supports more fun by moving them in this direction and whatnot. Like they're trying to be very open about the balanced philosophy, which before was really weird because it was like, okay, Cassidy is strong, let's buff him. Why? It doesn't say it, because the devs don't really add notes really there. I mean, there are some notes, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't like what we have right now. Okay, can I start reading this now? You're back?
Yes,
okay.
You can.
Heroes of Overwatch, let's talk data. Data is a valuable resource when it comes to game design. Data, player feedback, user research, internal discussion, and simply playing the game ourselves all influence our design decisions. Data can give us a bird's eye view, a close look at the smallest details, and it can eliminate larger trends in our game. Today we're going to talk about what can learn from the first Overwatch 2 beta and how we use data to inform design decisions in game. Also, one thing that I really want to know, are they gonna be using quick play stats for ranked? Because, I don't know if you all remember, but on the first, I think it was on the first or the second blog post that they did, the one that they mentioned the ranks, because they mentioned that supports were dying 15% more than in the live game in Grandmaster or above. Which sure, there was no ranked in the beta, but there was MMR. So that means that if you were a Grandmaster player, you were getting Grandmaster level quick play matches, which are arguably easier and more memey than ranked matches at Grandmaster, but they still do provide decent data for them. Would be better if the game format was the same from quick play to ranked, which is like what Apex does, for example. But Overwatch is weird, right? The only game mode that it has that is literally the same in quick play and ranked is gonna be King of the Hill. If King of the Hill was like the other maps, it would be a single round. But King of the Hill works the same in competitive and ranked, so you have to win 2 rounds. So it can go the full way, while in the other ones it only goes either one team attacks and one team defends. It's not gonna swap which teams it's attacking and defending, right? But enough with those rounds. What I want to know is if they are gonna be talking about, are they using the data to Like, are they gonna be using this data to balance ranked with like quick play and ranked being different formats? Because that would be weird, and they already did that in Overwatch 1, and I hope they fix this mistake in Overwatch 2, right? Data and design, observing hero performance. The design team wanted to keep an eye on several things as the first beta began. We saw the community play Sojourn and explore the Sombra, Bastion, Dubfist, and Orisa reworks for the first time. We wanted to know how these heroes were performing in the beta and respond with quick changes if they were found to be lacking in effectiveness or too overpowered to play against. When evaluating hero performance, we look at all competitive ranks and skill levels. I talked about that.
Yeah.
Together and separately, we get the clearest picture of how various portions of the player base are reacting to the current state of the game. Players that occupy the highest ranks push the game to its limit and often discover the strongest abilities and strategies much faster than the rest of the player base. Lower ranked players may, however, struggle more to deal with certain heroes and playstyle, so I find it important to keep all players in mind when making decisions about game balance. Good, that's good philosophy, but that doesn't mean that you should be like in Overwatch 1, where the philosophy was all heroes must be good at all maps and at all skill ratings, and at like both attack and defense. That was their balance philosophy, which is impossible, and is why like they made so many dumb decisions. Like why does Storm need to be like a good pick all the time? Why can't Storm be a niche pick that is really defensive, right? I don't think that his rework is bad, but I don't think they needed to buff him like they did by making the shotgun 2 cost instead of 3 cost on ammo, making the overload cooldown lower and lower and lower over time, right? I don't think that they need to do those kinds of things. I think that having some heroes that are lower skill, especially be niche, is fine for the game.
Yeah, the biggest buff for Torb, I'm pretty sure, was instead of having level 3 turrets, you just, and overload as an ultimate, you just have his Molten Core. Wow, I think that's the first time that I used the ultimate's name, like, ever. It's known as something else. And instead of him ulting to have overload, he just, like, has it on a 10-second cooldown, which was, like, pretty unbalanced.
Rank-specific analysis are a vital part of her data diet, but this blog features data pulled from all skill levels in the beta. Quantify interest.
Give me a second. I really need to go for a second.
Alright. I'll just keep going.
Yeah, you can keep going. Be right back.
Quantifying interest. Metrics that help us evaluate hero popularity. The question of performance is multifaceted. We have several different metrics that shine light through the prism of performance from different angles. The first metric is usage rate, a measure of how often a hero is played out of all time played in matches. For example, if Sojourn was played by a team for 5 minutes out of a 10-minute match, her usage rate would be 50%. Speaking of Sojourn, her usage rate was very high during the initial weeks of the beta, but steadily decreased over time, which is probably because people noticed that she was actually weak and worse than Soldier. Yo, what up, Mifrix? How are you doing? The thing with Sojourn is, I wish, and they said that in the alpha she was really broken and that they nerfed it, which is I think is good for her to not be overpowered for the beta. But at the same time, I kind of wanted her to be broken for like a week. Even if they immediately nerf her after, to make her power level be good for the game, right? And not be another Brig, which would destroy the game again. But I feel like I want the new character to be strong for a little bit of time, just so people can have fun with it and then move on to a balance, to a state of the game being balanced for the competitive players. Because the thing is, the casuals are gonna be like, new content, I'm gonna come back to the game, play the new content, get out. The competitive players are gonna be the ones that's gonna stick with it. So if something is busted, the casuals don't care, they just wanna have fun. But they're gonna go away fast, so if you put the new character and make them the new characters strong and then nerf them after a little bit of time, so 1 week, 2 weeks, then you're gonna be pleasing both the casuals that come back for to play the game with the new content and wanna have fun with the new hero, the new content, and also the hardcore grinders that don't want the game to be unbalanced for long. So they had their fun with the new hero as well, just like the casuals, but they want the hero nerfed because they want to have the game in a good balance state. So right, that's a really good philosophy to have. And that's something that, for example, Apex did with Seer. Seer at launch was broken. It was like brig levels of power. What did they do? They nerfed him immediately after like 1 to 2 weeks. Noticed it wasn't enough. Hammered him again, like the nerf hammer, and then he is now pretty balanced, if not underpowered. The casuals had their fun, and the pros are fine with it because he isn't overpowered and making everything unfun, right? A lot of different games do this. I'm just speaking Apex because that's the main other FPS that I play, but you are gonna be seeing that on other genres as well. It's not just FPS. So Sojourn 70%, and then she dropped to around 30, which is a very significant drop, but not like 30% pick rate is bad. But or rather usage rate. Daily usage rates over time for heroes or ranks in beta. So the hero that got reworks are highlighted. Where is Genji here? Can I see where Genji is? I would guess that Genji is very low in the list. I don't think I can quite see him. But yeah, whatever. Sojourn picked nearly 80% usage rate, which is incredible for a damage hero. And I also had a very high usage rate during most of the beta. But this is also true in the live game. Orisa and Doomfist, thanks to received heavy reworks, also saw high usage throughout the beta. Usage rate is an excellent metric for seeing the game exactly as it appears to players in an absolute sense. Sojourn was the most played hero when the beta first went live. At that point, over half of all time played in the beta featured the Sojourn on both teams. However, there's more context that needs to be considered when looking at usage rate, which is important that they're noting here. Sojourn saw a lot of gameplay in the beta, and her raw usage rate becomes more significant when you factor in how many more damage heroes are in the game to potentially be chosen. To look at usage rate while also acknowledging this role and balance, we also consider a different metric called weighted usage rate. Weighted usage rate is measured of how often a hero is played relative to the number of heroes in its role. So if a role has like 10 characters, one character is at 1/10. If a role has 20, one character is 1/20th, so half of that. So the more characters there are in a row, the more important it is, like this metric of one character being played a lot is, because it means that people are choosing them out of a bigger cast of characters, right? So that's where the weighted choice comes from. We take each hero's raw usage rate and divide it by the equilibrium usage for its row. The usage rate where all heroes in a row are played equally. Thus, the final measure in question is the ratio of the hero's usage versus the equilibrium rate. Returning to Sojourn, we can see that in the early stages of the beta, she was outperforming every other hero's weighted usage by an incredible rate. You know, this is gonna be taking a long time, so I'm actually gonna get water. So I'll be right back, chat. I mean, they already kind of were addressing the overflow of DPS heroes before. They acknowledged it by when they said that support had a rougher time in the beta because they didn't get any new toys and they were mostly like the targets in most engagements. But it's good that they're showing that they're constantly looking at it. It's not just like a quick mention. And I would expect the next beta to be focused on supports. And as far as I remember, they actually mentioned that the next beta would be more focused on supports, but I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. Using weighted usage rates helps us more accurately portray the relative interest in new heroes or reworks like Orisa and Doomfist compared to heroes like Ana, who is already a popular hero. For example, Sojourn peaked at over 6 times in weighted usage rate, which means she was played over 6 times more than the equilibrium rate for damage heroes. Orisa and Doomfist may have only reached into the mid 40% in raw usage rate, but weighted usage rates helps us see that they were as engaging to tank players as Ana was to support players. Interesting. I hope it has one, but I really hope that the next beta we actually see 2 more heroes, at least. I really hope that they're gonna be giving us bigger content drops as the betas come out, and then do understand that they want the launch of the game to have a boom. But at the same time, the first beta was already a marketing failure because of how badly they marketed the game beforehand. So a lot of people thought that Overwatch was releasing, even though it was same beta. But the 2 label is already problematic. So even if it shows beta, people are expecting more stuff new from all this time. They don't know, people from outside don't know all the stuff that happened with inside Blizzard and the delays and whatnot. So as much as I hope for more content, they might actually hold it. So I'm not gonna speculate on whether or not they're actually gonna release more than 1 hero, if they're even gonna release any in the new beta. But I would expect one new hero in the beta. That's what I would expect. I do want a ranked system to release in one of the betas, because I want them to test out the new ranked system before the game goes live. And also there's the problem of how are they gonna release? Are they gonna release Overwatch 2 PvP separately from Overwatch 2 PvE? If so, are they gonna release Overwatch 2 twice? Or are they just gonna release it once with the PvE and the PvP beta is gonna be, or rather the PvP is gonna be treated as an expansion? Like, how will they handle that? That's a big problem that they have to address too. But okay, back to this. Hero balance, how data and feedback drive change. Our team had a focus to go for the PvP beta. We wanted all our heroes to be fun to play without being unfair to play against. Our usage rate analysis suggested that we were on track with the former, and thus our focus turned to game balance. Deciding how to balance a hero, that's probably a mistype, is a purposeful decision that is made with input from many sources, data-driven or otherwise. For example, consistent feedback from support players regarding the survivability of the role in the beta directly informed many of the support changes in the May 5th balance update. The thing I wonder is just how much time it's gonna take for the reworked ranked. Because the rework on ranked, depending on how big it is, it could take them some time. But it really depends. Really depends. They could also just release the old ranked if they really wanted to. Like, they have shown that they can release new things in the beta, like new mode, because they released open queue during the beta. Astra Death queue time concerns from some players. But yeah. Also, what was I thinking about? I was thinking about Apex. Apex just got a rework in its ranked system. A big rework in its ranked system. So they added a rookie tier. They made so that you don't punish people for like killing too much. So beforehand you would get some rank for killing people, but it would cap at some point. So teams that were really good and were able to wipe the whole lobby didn't get that much out of it. They could just wipe a few squads and then just chill and get the first place and get more IRP from camping first place in a good spot than it would be for them to actually engage in gameplay and look for other squads, right? So they reworked a bit so there is no cap, it only goes down, so you still want kills no matter what, because kills are always going to be useful, but you also want placement, so you want to reward both things. You need to balance it properly, like how much do you want the kills to weight, how much do you want the placement to weight. Yeah, they did a really massive rework, and all of that must have taken them a lot of time to actually think. So I wonder if there is actually gonna be the new ranked system in here. But if they do release it, I do hope it's at minimum. Like, I hope that they don't just hold off on releasing ranked for the beta, just because they don't have the new one ready. I hope that they address the issue that there was no ranked and release the old one if the new one isn't ready. And yeah, some TM is correct because that's the Blizzard term, right? Player feedback is often one of the first signals that a balanced change is needed, and data can help inform the decisions as well. One such way of measuring hero performance is by looking at map win rates. However, due to the nature of Overwatch, namely the ability to switch heroes, basic map win rates are not representative of a hero's actual performance. If you place Sojourn in a map and win, but only for half of the map, should that count as a full map win in a win rate calculation? No! Fear not. That scenario is only the first step in how we track win rates. To arrive at a better metric, we approach win rates fractionally by looking at how long a certain hero is played within a map. In the above half map scenario, let's say that the map lasted 10 minutes and the Sojourn was played for half of that time. Sojourn would have earned a 0.5 win fraction for that map because he was only played for 5 minutes out of 10 minutes. Had the map been a loss, Sojourn would have earned 0.5 loss fraction. So that's why when you look at stats in Overwatch and you see like how would I don't know. I guess you could say like you played one game in a character. You played one game in one character, but it wasn't a full game. But you still are gonna be seeing a loss or a win because it's gonna be rounded up or something like that. That can happen. I know that there are better examples, but this is the first one that I can think of and I want to continue reading this. To translate these fractions into win rates, we first add all of Sojourn's win fractions across all maps played, then we divide the total win fractions by Sojourn's total fractions, both wins and losses. This approach arrives at a win rate that is much more representative of how the hero is performing while also accounting for hero switching, which makes sense mathematically. It obviously won't be perfect, because that stats lacks context, but this is the best that you can do mathematically, I think. One weakness of this metric is that the more a hero is played, the more the win rate is pushed toward 50%. This exact scenario happened in the alpha, where Sojourn was both incredibly powerful and high played, because both teams fielded Sojourn, her regular win rate barely budged from 50% despite being overtuned. In a match where both sides have a Sojourn, one team has to win and one team has to lose after all. We address this by applying the same win fraction calculation to the periods of time where only one team is fielding that hero. We call this an unmirrored state, which is very important because in mirrors, obviously theoretically the win rate of the character is 50%, because if the hero is playing on both sides, that character gaining both a win and a loss, right? By looking at unmirrored win rate, we can see how a hero like Sojourn, who reached over 50% mirrored rate, performs when there isn't another Sojourn on the opposing team, and separate her win rate further from 50%. That's enough explanation about win rate metrics. Let's look at some unmirrored win rates over time. Symmetra is leading, wow! Where's Genji at? That's where I'm curious. Lucio and Brig are sitting at around 56% win rate? Huh, nerfed Brig is still really good, who would have guessed? Definitely not the high ranked community that called it out. I cannot make out Genji if he isn't even is in here, but I would guess he is, but yeah. And Sojourn is kinda bad. I don't think Sombra is bad, I think the community is bad at Sombra, although I do think the Orisa is bad compared to the other tanks. Because she relies on taking too much damage. And if you care about how to play or how to counter Orisa, the new Orisa, at least in the state that we saw in the beta, used to how to counter Orisa in the beta, and a video from your Overwatch should show up, and it's a really good video about why Orisa is really bad. Because basically she lacks mobility and you can just ignore her, and she wants you to shoot at her, so the supports can pump heals onto her. Which is the main thing that she does really well. She is the most tanky tank that there is. That's the TLDR. This chart illustrates the unmirrored win rates of heroes throughout the beta and why data is only one of many inputs used in making hero balance decisions. It may be surprising to some players to see that Orisa is so low or that symmetry is so high. The analysis technique that ultimately makes these metrics useful is a healthy understanding of the context in which they are generated. I heard you all want new skins. Yeah. Take Symmetra for example, she constantly has one of the highest win rates in both the beta and live game because people tend to play Symmetra in situations where she is most likely to win. That's the thing, you cannot take math alone because math lacks the context. Like defending the first point of a map. Players who utilize Symmetra are also more likely to swap off her very quickly when they suspect they may lose the game, further pushing her win rate in a positive direction. If you apply the reverse of this logic to Sojourn and Orisa, can better understand why their win rates may be lower than one might suspect, although they do suck, so they do deserve to have low, negative win rates. Players were excited to play them in the beta, but everyone was unfamiliar with the new hero abilities and playstyles. So yeah, the community sucks at basic FPS mechanics because the game balance basically shielded them from having to learn those things. Because all I had to do is press a few buttons like a shield, an immortality field, select a character that has double the stats of the enemy team, right? Those things that made people be able to get value even being bad and basically not have to learn basic FPS mechanics to actually perform. That's still gonna exist to a certain extent in Overwatch 2, but less so, which is good for balance. But it's also good that there are some characters like this for the casuals to actually be able to enjoy the game without being good, because a casual, by the nature of a casual, doesn't have as much experience and cannot get as much value as a hardcore grinder, right? So it's good to have both things. The problem is when a character that a casual is supposed to play gets more value than the character a hardcore grinder plays, and puts like 20-50 times more time than the casual puts. Like, the problem lies when a Brig player with 5 hours on her gets more value than a player that has 1,000 hours on a single hero, right? That's where the problem comes from. Not the existence of characters that are easier to play and have higher skill floors, because the problem is the skill ceiling and like the skill to reward ratio as well. But I'm not gonna go on that tangent right now. Players are excited playing them in the beta, but everyone was familiar with their new hero abilities and playstyles. This led to players picking them even in losing situations where it may have been more advantageous to swap the different hero. After all, it is difficult to be as effective at Sojourn with several hours of play on her as an opponent with hundreds of hours on Soldier 76. And Sojourn is underpowered compared to Soldier, so Soldier, even if the new player is picking both characters up, like one new player A is picking Soldier up and player B is picking Sojourn up at the same time, playing the same amount of time, the Soldier player is gonna get more value because Soldier is better. So this example isn't the best, but it does get the point across. Swimming through all of this context and data makes the process of deciding which heroes to focus on for balanced updates quite complex. Sojourn's adjustments were a minor pullback on a series of changes that she received during alpha testing, when her win rate was nearly as much as above 50% as it is currently below it. Orisa remains unchanged for now, and it is still unclear if she is bad or if the community at large is just bad at her, or both. The community can suck at new Orisa, and she can be bad. Both things can coexist. We're leaning towards the latter, as we all seem to have that one friend who steamrolled through the beta with Orisa and her new kit. And you know why? That player isn't because they actually are that good at the character, although it can be to a certain extent. It's mostly on the opponents not being able to play. The truth is...
Hey, that was probably me.
What? Oh, there is some?
Steamrolling, yeah.
So, for example...
I got so much value with her.
Yeah. The big thing about this is that, for example, me playing Genji on high rank. Sure, I can hard pop off and carry some games, right? But that is unlikely to happen. Most of the time I'm gonna be having like a decent output in the game, and by playing smart I have a good agency. By calling out I have more agency over the game as well. But the truth is, if the opponents are playing as well as I am default losing to them because my character is worse. At least in Overwatch 1. In Overwatch 2, Genji is way better, which he should be because he's one of the highest skill ceiling characters in the game, right? So, if we considered that a good player is playing against bad players, then yeah, that Orisa is gonna steamroll. If that Orisa was playing against good players, that Orisa would get rolled. That's the big difference. However, future changes to Orisa and Doomfist are currently being explored. Soldier 76 received an update thanks to a healthy mixture of data paired with community feedback, and Sober also received a similar movement speed adjustment to account for both heroes, unintended synergy with the new damage hero passive ability. The remaining heroes who were affected in the May 5th balance update went through similar processes. This is really important to note. Sombra also received a similar speed adjustment to account for both heroes' unintended synergy with the new passive. So basically what they're saying, Soldier can sprint, Sombra is faster on stealth, and they didn't account for them that stacking with the speed boost from the roll passive and that making that stronger. So this is actually really good for us to hear. You wanna know why? Because this just shows, which to a certain extent is concerning, but if you look deeper it is good. This shows that they didn't work on this for too long. The work that they have been putting onto PvP is recent, because otherwise they would have noticed this. They wouldn't have made such a big oversight if they were working on this for long. Most of their work was on PvE, as far as we are aware. So this means that they have managed to make such a better game than the current live service in such a small amount of time, which is really good. They have switched philosophies, they have made they're constantly pushing out news for us, they're communicating with us. So this really goes to show that this is promising. They are finally leading the game to a good direction. They're putting in the work to make that Overwatch get there and fast, because it needs to, otherwise it will be too far gone to actually save, right? So this is actually, although it can seem concerning at first, it can show that it is really good because they're putting in the work and putting it fast and putting it effectively. Evaluating the results of our updates. Now the fun part begins. Just like our goals entering the beta, we now wanted to analyze the outcome of these balance changes. While it's important to remember that the win rate changes we're observing here from a limited pool of beta players playing in non-competitive mode, they can still be very useful for rapidly gauging whether balance changes had noticeable effects. Good, they're addressing that these stats are not good for ranked. Which is what I said before starting to read this. I really want them to actually notice that they either need to mirror the game mode, so quick play has both attack and defense rounds, or they just don't use quick play stats to balance competitive like they used to do. You're gonna go make dinner? Okay, alright. Have a good one. I'm gonna leave Discord then, and I'm gonna kick you from here. Or you're just gonna leave. Yeah, that works as well. Let me close Discord. One last thing for me to be seeing. Okay, now back to this. While the part-time win rate changes we're observing. Okay. Was this change to Soldier 76 and enough to knock his win rate down a peg? Were the support changes effective at improving struggling heroes like Zenyatta? Let's extend that win rate chart out several days and see, starting with the supports. So Baptiste was the worst one and he did get a buff. As you can see, his win rate did go up, but it ended up falling a little bit, and sure, this is a small sample size, it's just like less than a week, if a week. But it does seem like it is higher than it is before. Although I could be wrong on that. That could also be just the community being bad at playing Baptiste. Like in higher ranked, Baptiste probably gets better value because people play more together to get the value from those picks, right? They know how to play around picks better. But Bab is still probably worse than other picks in high ranks because they can get more value from Ana, for example, with her massive cooldowns, being so good at the game. With her cooldowns having such a massive effect on the game, right? She slips someone, that character is most likely dead. And in Overwatch 1 that's already important, but in Overwatch 2 with less defenses and each pick mattering more, that slip dart hitting, that nade hitting, those are more meaningful than in Overwatch 1 by a large margin. For most part, all sports received a balanced adjustment, including the bug fix to Mercy's Valkyrie, saw an instant change in unmirrored win rates, except for Baptiste, who received changes in the later beta patch. This means that, by and large, those changes had their intended effects. However, no hero was impacted as much as Zenyatta, who saw win rate swing of roughly 5%, which is really a big improvement, but I wonder if that would actually happen in ranks. I think that he wouldn't get that big of an improvement in ranked, but I could be wrong on that. Historically, we had observed that changes to heroes' health pools have had the most drastic effect on win rates, so this was not entirely unexpected. We'll be monitoring Zenyatta's newfound power as well as his snap kicks with great interest. Yeah, if only we still had the beta so you would get more data about this, but I can understand why they took down the beta, but I also don't understand why they took out the beta. I'm kind of split on that. Look at the tanks. Winston is by and large the best. I think Ball is underrated. That might just be the community being bad, but at the same time Winston is just better than Ball. Besides Roadhog, tanks received relatively minor balance adjustments, and the changes, or lack thereof, in their win rates reflected that. Roadhog and Wrecking Ball both enjoyed an increase of 1 to 2% in their win rates as we tried to help those heroes better adjust in a new 5v5 environment. Finally, let's look at damage heroes. Soldier had a massive drop, Jesus. And I cannot make out Genji because they're not highlighting him again. I'm really curious about Genji's power level here, even if it's just quick play stats. There is no doubt that Soldier 76 felt the hit from the nerf bat. Here, having dropped over 6% in win rate because of receiving these 3 separate changes. Soldier, on the other hand, climbed in win rate from a low of 42-43% to respectable 44-45% win rate. That, honestly, that's not really respectable, that's kind of laughable. But it's not the worst. And seeing an increase is good, but at the same time you don't need characters to be good all the time. I said I wanted Sojourn to be busted at the start for casuals to have fun, but I don't want Sojourn to be overpowered because that would make the fun game very unfun in the balance side of things. So for the hardcore players. So I think it's fine for Sojourn to be a niche pick. But maybe Sojourn could use a little bit more buff so that she gets a little bit stronger. She doesn't have to sit at this low of win rate. And she probably would still be fine. But we still have to monitor, like, carefully buff characters so that we don't accidentally overtune someone and create a new brig. Summer adjustment was more of a realignment to account for the interaction between movement speed abilities and a new damage passive and did not result in much of a change in her win rate. Interesting, because that's mostly because this change is mostly because of the player base being bad. Not because she is weaker. I think Sombra is way stronger right now. Way stronger. Because of pings, because of the wall hacks, because of the damage buff. Like, there are many things that make the new Sombra stronger. Gameplay philosophy. Building a game with data and community collaboration. This process of change, discovery, analysis, and change is a never-ending cycle of balance. As popular strategies shift, new heroes might become the next soldier and rise above the rest. With every new hero release or rework, they must be ready to make changes to ensure that they are neither too powerful nor too weak. When we make changes, we're constantly evaluating whether those changes were effective or need more punch behind them. If your favorite hero did not receive a change and you felt that they should have, we hope that the metrics introduced above help eliminate several of the inputs behind hero balance in Overwatch and give everyone faith in the process. Game balance is a marathon, not a sprint, and many more hero changes await us in the horizon. See you next beta. Okay, good, very good blog post. Very good blog post. But I still would like them to release the charts so that we can see every hero. I really want to see Genji's performance. I'm really curious about that. But other than that, that was a really good blog post. Really good blog post. And with that being said, we're almost 3 hours live, and I think that the Deflect guide was really good. Let me just quickly put the sound back at what it was. And I'm not actually gonna play. I think this is already linked enough for a stream. I'm hungry, so I'm gonna go eat. Tomorrow we're gonna be doing VOD reviews. And after that, I'll probably just focus on making content on the last 3 days of the week, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then we're gonna be back next week with some more discussions. I think one of the first things I'm gonna be doing is complementing the aiming video that I did, because I wanted to show some more examples, but I didn't want to make a lengthy video. So I'm gonna be analyzing a full Widow headshot recording that I did, and maybe even another one that is just like with other heroes, to show a bunch of different aiming techniques being applied every time, also showing more of my misses, explaining why those are misses, going in depth about movements, like just in general going more in depth about these things. And we're gonna be having some more fun stuff next week. Let's see, one of the things that I'm gonna be going over. I'm probably gonna be going over mouse acceleration too. Mouse acceleration, I have been seeing an improvement in consistency for me. It removed strain in my wrist, which is really good. I've also heard other people say that they really liked it, so we're gonna be discussing it live. I'm probably gonna discuss it live. I'm probably also gonna be making a more like involved video on that, because I think it is a topic worth a more like a better video, that not just me ranting, like a video that I make a script on and actually read from the script instead of just me free-flowing a discussion here. But yeah, look forward to it. Tomorrow is gonna be the last stream from this week, probably, unless I decide to do one that isn't scheduled. And if that happens, then I'm gonna be letting you all know in the Discord or with a YouTube post. But anyways, have a good one everyone, and I'll be seeing you all tomorrow. Bye bye.